Okay, this is day 164, Awan Brotherhood. I think this is going to be a tale of two rat lines. And the old rat line was Javid's rat line to here, Javid's rat line, the old Beaumont, Sugarland Express rat line, Riceland Farms rat line. Moving to this new rat line, which is, I'm going to call this the nanosat rat line. I'm not saying Imran didn't start on the old rat line, but I think he had bigger ambitions, and his brother did too, and his father did as well, to move into not only just being a part of managing this rat line, but managing all rat lines all around the world. And it's about managing this guy who's making that drug run from whoever's growing the opium or whoever's growing cocaine in Peru, and the coca in Peru, and getting it from point A to point B, getting it to these convenience stores or hospitals or pain clinics and whatever. And that's that whole rat line. And I think that's the story here. It's in a way it's an ambitious story because it's about a drug runner and an intelligence gatherer to protect the rat lines wanting more. And I think that's really the bottom line here. So what leads me to believe that? Well, it's his dad. His dad invests in this company called Blue Skylink here in Texas. Now, he's living in Washington, D.C., or he's living in Pakistan, so it's just odd that he would be investing in this company. But the reason why you would invest in here's Blue Sky Network, the reason why you would invest in a company for that is there's these iridium transceivers. What do? Well, you can put them in planes, helicopters, marine situations, or if you're shipping rice across the ocean, you can follow and track it all the way, as well as over land and so forth. So in trucks, even on the back of a motorcycle and so forth. There's the Blue Sky Network's big transceiver. It allows the pilot to ground control communication all through the rat line transportation. And now here's their new unit they just came out with. So again, it's Mohammed Shah Blue Sky Iridium phones. This reminds me, it's just almost a recapitulation of the old MENA network. You flew drugs into MENA here on the Sugarland Express here. The only difference is we're flying it into Sugarland. Then they would take the helicopter here, and they would fly over to Tyson's Chicken, stuff the chickens with a heroin, and away we go. That was the network. I believe this network is just the same. You start at Sugarland over here, you fly it over to Beaumont, Ricelands, and then away you go. The Ricelands take it out to, and you can put a myriad of different products that go to convenience stores as well. And I think that's what happened over time. They made their money with the rice initially as a wholesaler, but then moved into the retail networks with the convenience stores. And if you look at the Sugarland photos, you can almost see Barry Seal, going out there with the cocaine, stuffing it into the nose cone from the Parkometer fake nose cones. I mean, it's you're going to see the movie later this year, and you'll see all that dramatized. But again, this, I think, he started in convenience stores first to kind of establish what I would call a retail foothold of unreliable junkies coming in. But the reason to go to the hospital and so forth is to get a more reliable, predictable stream and a higher value for the actual opium that you had in terms of morphine, Suboxone, Oxycontin, all the derivatives of heroin. So I think that you're going to see this constant move from unreliable junkie over to programmatic addiction. Again, why do I say that? Well, Graham Fuller taught Fethullah how to do that, in about 20 different countries. He's doing it now in 20 different countries, excuse me. He's doing that now in 120 different countries. Who do I think his agent was in Detroit? I think it was Muzaffar Awan, to recruit these doctors. And they're recruiting the doctors to say, hey, you've got PTSD. Hey, you've got chronic sports injury. Hey, you're addicted to heroin from these Javid convenience stores. You need to get on Suboxone. You need to get on, methadone, so forth. So this is the upsell. This is the upsell. The English teachers are running that upsell program. Again, we have people in New York under custody right now that can spill all the beans on the rat line. Why do I focus so much on Detroit? Well, it's because of all the overdoses. It's because of all the kickback schemes to the Democratic donors. It's because the largest Medicare fraud ever. It's the Dr. Fada with 100 people being infected with carcinogens and cancer, 100 and hundreds more. Actually, the total number is, I read it now, is 586 people that were given carcinogens, and there's about 780 claimants, somewhere in there. So that is why when Tariq Awan, the son of a Mohammed Shah, comes to Montreal, buys a luxury apartment here in Toronto, sets up in Detroit as a doctor of osteopathy, but then moves to California. I believe the clinic's still going here. Moves to California and sets up a company in Las Vegas to bring over people that have been trained in Pakistan to to Canada and then to the United States. That to me looks like another rat line. So that's the only reason I kept bringing up the Tariq Awan question. Again, this Las Vegas firm talks about this medical physicist program. Now I realize that has nothing to do with pain medication. That's more for providing people CAT scans and so forth. But there is this kind of same importation of doctors from overseas and getting people over, explaining they only have to have 2 years in medical physics to get into to move to Canada, and then from Canada migrate down into the United States. Again, I'm not the one who made the 4 rice orders 16 months apart and then collapsed the corporation so I didn't have to pay the bill. That's Imran Awan that did that. So, and I think I proved that. Now, where I think the change was in 2011, this is where all the Mango emails come from Hillary, was when we're going to go to the nano satellite technology to manage the rat lines. I believe NanoSet up until that time was being used for mainly just hacking, mainly putting routers into VA hospitals and so forth in Virginia, Maryland, Texas, and so forth. Maybe also Arizona and New Mexico, all over the South, and this is kind of the North. But the new dawn that occurred, and this was also incorporated in 2011, even like they called it 2001. The new dawn here was that they were going to manage the rat line through NanoSet technology. This comes from Special Forces. You throw these things up, they're cheap. They stay up in low orbit for a couple of years. They're much better. They're really close to the ground. You can watch people's footprints. You can watch rat lines all the way around. And it's almost like George Bush's New World Order is this. It's just constant 24-hour visibility of everybody involved in your rat line. And I'm talking all your rat lines, not just the drugs, not just the child trafficking, not just the organ harvesting, but everything, everything. So again, when you're up in these hills fighting where you are at the Adil rice mills up here in the war-torn area of Kashmir, you can't get there with a AT&T phone. It's going to be an Iridium satellite phone, and you're going to manage that all the way down to Karachi. I do believe there's some post-processing happening in Lahore. Maybe that's where the reduction step is to morphine, and I do believe that's the new era here. They're getting out of just being the pack animals in this scenario into adding value all along the way, and until eventually with the Mango line that's being established in 2011, that cuts out all the middlemen. All the middlemen are cut out now, and they fly directly from Karachi or directly from Lahore to Chicago O'Hare. Again, that's why I believe that there's this constant flow of Pakistani really smart guys that are trained in Pakistani army and so forth in satellite technology. That's why they go to work. That's why Imran works at Lightbridge Communication. That's why Mohammed Hunzla works at Lightbridge Communication. This is mobile global information grid, DISA. So again, now the cutouts all make sense because you don't want any footprints of people coming in. Now the NanoSet Technologies government contractor makes sense. You want to be able to have some place to sell the routers back to the government, the doped routers back to the government, but you also want to be able to put up your own global information grid. I wouldn't be surprised if NanoSet is even working with NASA or some other space like Elon Musk or somebody private SpaceX type contractor to put nanosatellites up in space. Again, most times historical precedents, you have to make some kind of translation. This one you don't have at all. It's the same exact network. Amjad Awan set up the original Midnight Express between Pakistan and Turkey with Gulen. He did the same thing for Iran-Contra. Mark Rich was the guy who did it. So all the players here, like Comey and everybody, Rudy Giuliani, they don't have to even make an analogy. It's the same network. So Palantir is going to manage it all, as I mentioned before. It integrates the nanosats with the higher, better camera, kind of Pegasus type things where you can really focus in on the rat line. So the nanosets are your smoke alarms, and your Pegasus up here is your fire extinguisher if you ever have a problem along your rat line. And when you do, you just say, oh, well, we have a flour recall, like we just had here yesterday in Toronto. If flour is your method, this was how the Russian bank guy, the Alpha Bank guy, made all of his money. It was biscuits. And it's almost obvious, the white powder, every fifth, bag of white powder. But anyway, if you have a problem, you call a recall, or you blow up a refrigerated warehouse in Okalaka, at American Produce. I shouldn't say that the American Produce was a rat line being discovered, being tipped off. I just think that they do like all the drug dealers do when they set up a proprietary. They run the drugs through as much as possible, and then when they know they have to shut it down, they leave everybody with that, and then they burn it down for insurance. So the Acosta brothers, another set of brothers. So anyway, we have the Awan brothers here spying on House intelligence. We have known contacts to a guy who ran several different rat lines, not just the sex rat line, child rat line, the organ harvesting rat line, but also an intelligence rat line to Iran. So, and again, I'm going to hook back here and to the UAE, where all these guys are training. It's going to be Cleveland Clinic, and it's going to be Mayo Clinic. They're going to be training at Jacksonville Mayo Clinic for the heart, liver, and kidney transplants. That's coming. That's just all the same thing. All these rat lines are going to be the same thing. It's going to be Turkish doctors, but also other doctors now from the Middle East. It's going to be the UAE, though, and it's still going to be managed by the Pakistani ISI for the training. Training is going to be U.S. The transplants are going to be in AUE. Again, signatures. You look for signatures. You look for murders. Here's a murder. Here's a Pakistani national. Again, a registered agent in the Awan Brothers LLC, killing a car dealer who's not going to be cooperative, providing cars for Pakistani nationals coming to train in the U.S. Again, the Pakistani 111th is well known to be involved ever since the original days of the Mina Airport rat line, going back to 1979, the Pakistani 111th. Again, Awan Brothers Pharma, this is going to be the animal pharma thing. I need a little bit more before I actually can come out with the Cargill stuff and the ConAgra stuff, but it's coming, and the Monsanto stuff. So this is all coming, the repackaging of animal pharmaceuticals for for counterfeit human drugs for VA hospitals, as well as certain health systems like Spectrum Health. Okay, again, more signatures. Radical jihad that implants a revenge motive, kidnapping, threatening to kill people, and offshoring money. And again, the DynCorp runs all through PSP and ISI. I mean, it's kind of like DynCorp's showcase police force, military police force. Not a Muslim thing, not a Pakistani thing here. The two Pakistani women that are their relatives saying this, not me. Okay. Threatening to kill, kidnap, murder if they didn't change the inheritance. Okay, and here you got the foreign minister talking about free visas for CIA agents. Well, you think he's going to do that for nothing? No, he's going to have 36 Awan brothers in exchange in the U.S. for that. Again, 31 Democrats. People are trying to say it's 80. You're going to find out it's actually 31. They're just trying to scare all the House Democrats to put all their weight behind these cockamamie Russian hoax things, but it's going to come down to these 20 Democrats where the burglars were, and these are going to be the Stonewallers. So in terms of a Watergate, it's not going to be 80, it's not going to be 31, it's going to be the 20 that you're going to see testifying. And of course, you've got just this profusion of evidence, of theft and so forth. It's obvious the FBI is dragging its feet by not investigating, and obviously the Capitol Police have dragged their feet on this. Again, the Capitol Police have not published any pictures of the thefts in the server rooms. No thefts, no logs published of what was stolen yet. We only know it's a couple of servers, laptops, and thumb drives. Nobody has said anything from the White House yet about giving them diplomatic visas, the Awans getting diplomatic visas. No one has said anything about the people that are being brought in from all over the Mideast, especially Iraq and Pakistan, to work at the NGA in St. Louis, and their passports that they've been issued in St. Louis. Again, all this stuff comes out, all the rat lines come out when he recuses. This is McCabe, second in command at FBI. We need to publish metadata for Hillary's server, Huma's server, and the Awan server. And then the whole swamp drains by itself. It's just like pulling the plug on the bathtub. It all drains itself. Again, poor Susan Rice, because, well, I won't say poor Susan Rice, but she's getting, McCabe is hiding behind Susan Rice. Susan Rice is a national security advisor, cannot order wiretaps. He's been doing wiretaps for Hillary for 20 years. Time to step forward, time to say recuse yourself from the bribe, time to say you tried to stonewall the Hillary investigation, time to say, yes, I've been managing this rat line for whatever reason with all these agents overseas, and just come clean. If Andrew McCabe comes clean, this whole thing goes away. So I'm going to leave it there. Again, researchers, base 1, U.S. Information Agency is going to be where you're going to get your passports for your NGA, for your Pakistanis and Iraqis working at the NGA. It's going to be mostly Iraqis, I believe, and Afghanistanis. Again, the Pakistanis are going to be on top of it, and you're going to have Iraqis and Afghanis being most of the interpreters at the NGA, I believe. And again, the threats, another signature, but here, threatening people on Capitol Hill for top secret access, that is just another signature. That's all for this morning. I'll have more on the American produce thing later today.